Hello, everyone. Hope everybody's all right. And we're going to wait a few seconds for everybody to be here. And it seems okay. Sound, everything looks all right over here. And if anything happens, we'll be checking out the volume levels, but they look okay. Hello, everyone. Nice to have you on board on this Wednesday, as we will talk about radio once again. And we've got questions for you guys tonight. And they come from Bob, that lives in Delaware, that has questions. And he says, I want to ask questions to the viewers. And we're going to come back to his email in a short little while. I think it's going to be fun, a little interaction and learning a little more from you guys. Let's check out here, 7375. So Radio Romania English, pretty good. 7375 kilohertz. Radio Romania. So this is going to be fun. I'm going to talk a little bit about a little something here. So we've got, of course, the laptop, but look at that, guys. I got a new weather station right here. There's the new weather station. I'm going to talk about it in a short little while also and give you all the details of this little weather station. And I hope that everybody's going to be fine today. Just going to readjust this a little bit more. There we go. A little more in my face. And we've got the firewall running. Actually, it looks like the wall is on fire totally right now. And hope that everybody's all right on this Wednesday / Thursday for a lot of people, actually. So everything's all right. Okay, guys, I'm going to start off. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this Shortwave radio show. This is a stream that talks about radio. I get asked all the time, why aren't you doing this on Shortwave? Yeah, well, if you want to pay for it, I'll do it. I'll be super happy to have it on Shortwave, but somebody's got to pay the bill. So this is actually a compliment. And, there's a lot of people that don't understand this. They look at my stream and they're like, well, aren't you killing Shortwave? No, I'm promoting Shortwave. There's actually more people listening together, being together listening, than with this. Then, if they were alone and maybe they don't know what to tune and what to do. And, this is actually something that I think promotes and helps a lot of people tune around the shortwave bands. It's much more interesting. And it's using what I always thought, what I hear all the time, it's like, well, the internet's killing shortwave. No, it's not. The internet is actually the best resource that you can imagine for shortwave. I wish we had that when I started listening. I say it all the time. I wish I had some guy from Canada talking to me, telling me what to tune and, where I can join in and have fun with my radios back in 1982. But unfortunately, technology was not there yet. It's I think this is a lot of fun, and it's a compliment, and it helps promote the hobby of shortwave radio and amateur radio and radio in general. And I think that's the important thing here. My name is Gilles. I'm located in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, northeast part of North America. And we are here to entertain and have fun with radio, basically. We, of course, talk about shortwave radios mostly, but long wave, medium wave, shortwave. Sometimes we go into the VHF, UHF range. As long as it's radio, you know what? That's the important thing here, and that's really cool. Whatever radio, CB radio, amateur radio of any kind is radio. For the whoops, okay. So my location, Montreal, Quebec, Canada, northeast part of North America, and we of course are here twice a week. We are here on Wednesday, which is technically Thursday UTC time, 0 hours UTC. But so for big chunk of the world, it's actually Thursday now. But North America, we are Wednesday evening, and we are on Saturday at 20 hours Universal Time, where we of course continue talking about radio, and more radio. So welcome aboard, everybody. Once this is over, so there's a chat room that you can join in and have a lot of fun with if you enjoy what we do. People are great here in the chat room. They're super nice. They're really, really great people. And they are definitely helpful and just amazing. So, this I think is what defines this group and separates it from a lot of other groups is the fact that it's just an amazing place where people respect each other and have fun. The show is over. You might be thinking, well, I feel like alone. I'm alone suddenly again. Well, Facebook group is there. Same name as the channel here, official SWL channel. And of course, you can have a lot of fun. Facebook group. I really enjoy seeing what people are, doing. Lots of people asking questions, asking for help of, to improve their reception, their hobby, which is nice. Sharing new radios, talking about radios, asking about radios. That's pretty much what we do here. And cheers, by the way, with the cranberry vodka cranberry for the night. And and it's fun to follow. And when I listen to sometimes answer questions or give my 2 cents worth, and basically we just have a lot of fun there, and that's pretty cool. And we continue to have a lot of the action on the Facebook group. So that's pretty much the way it is, and hope that you enjoy what we do on the channel with regards to radio. So, VA3 JPX, nice to have you on board. James from Ottawa, Ontario. Laker Ice 5.5 on board. Cool. Jay Watterson 69, nice to have you here. We have Randall from Northeast Illinois, nice to have you here. Robert Cross, nice to have you on board. Gary 24 Fan, nice to have you here from Northern Maine. Richard Wagner, nice to have you here from Northeast Illinois. Bobby Burgess, nice to have you here from Morgan City, Louisiana, WA5107 SWL. So sad, Robert. Hope that we can at least help in coping with the loss of your dog. I can't even imagine the day that Paul the cat will be moving on to his other life. I know I'm gonna cry my life. So take care, and you know what? You're with great people here. We're all together, and of course, it's something tough to go through. I mean, it's a member of the family, and it's definitely a rough one. So, take care, my friend Robert. VT Radio, nice to have you here. Paul AA1SU from Northern Vermont. Alan, nice to have you here. Says loves the cartoon. Yeah, I was thinking about what should I put as a picture for the live stream, and I always put Paul the cat, and I was like, maybe there's something else. And then I saw the cartoon while I was looking at the folder. I saw the cartoon, and I was like, oh, that's that. Okay, let's put that. Let's put that. James Farley, nice to have you here from Old Bridge, New Jersey. KD2GUZ, nice to have you on board. Cool AM Radio, nice to have you here. Andre from the Netherlands, always cool to have you here. We have Kamikaze 1976, nice to have you here from West Michigan. We have Francis Moore from Birmingham, UK, nice to have you here. TVD Exter, salut, ça va bien, j'espère que tu vas bien toi aussi. Just outside of Montreal, not very far from here. Tosenlof, nice to have you on board from the Alabama state. Chuck, nice to have you here in N5 KVO from hot and sunny Texas, currently 95. Here's gone down a little bit. It's a little cooler than it was in the last weekend when we had 3 days straight of pretty much 90-degree Fahrenheit weather. We're in the 60s. My weather station says 16 degrees Celsius right now. But it's going to get a little warmer. But now it's kind of typical May weather for us. Toast and Loaf got some apple cider going. Cool. James Farley, lots of crackles on the bands, 20 megahertz WWV, very good. Alan just went to the shack to disconnect antenna. Some thunderstorms around. That is what's going to happen with summer. Skip, N2EI, nice to have you here from New Jersey. Tom, nice to have you here from Monclova, Ohio. James Farley has a Russian time signal, RWM, on 9997 LSB. Let's check it out here if I can hear it on 9996 CW. Do we hear it tonight in Montreal? Yeah, hearing the pip. So it's coming in on, let me try 14996. It's weaker, but I think I'm hearing it on 14996 also. And 4996. Yeah, 4996 is there too. I'm hearing it on all three frequencies tonight. It's not, the strongest is 9996, but I'm hearing it on 14996 and 4996 also. If you guys want to try the RWM Moscow right now, it's every second a little time pip on the frequency. So 4996, 9996, and 14996. Frank Ireland, nice to have you here from Venice, Florida, 45 unit. Nice to have you on board. Hey, nice to have you here, Petro, FVA2XMX. Nice to have you on board. Keegan DXer, nice to have you here from Northwest Arkansas. We have Fastlow, nice to have you on board from Montreal. I hope you're enjoying your copy of Spectrum Monitor. Almesa, 19, nice to have you here. DJW883, Southeast Pennsylvania, nice to have you on board. Joseph, nice to have you on board from the Central Coast of California. Looking forward to scanning the bands on his GP5. Cool. Keegan DXer has reception with his Ethon Gredig Edition Field BT and Ethon Gredig Edition Satellite with SSB. Gary 24 fan. Well, the beard is like, it's the scruffy stuff. So it's like sometimes I trim it, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I just leave it alone and it looks like the neighbor's uncut grass. It's, I need to take care of it a little more because it's kind of very, very scruffy right now. S-Fred, nice to have you on board from Toronto. Brian Penny, nice to have you here from Cape Cod, Massachusetts. Jet Crafter, nice to have you here from Southern Maine. What else do we have? Alme Sam is from Central Ohio. J Projects, nice to have you here. Matt, MDK2, nice to have you on board from a schizophrenic Denver. Tomorrow's going to be 80s. Friday, we're getting snow. That's nice. I always look at the extremes that we had in the city every day, and I was looking at the extremes for Montreal for yesterday, and noticed that somewhere in 1956 or 59 or something like that, we had 2 centimeters of snow on May 17th, and I'm like, oh wow, that must have been discouraging. Usually, May is the time where we usually don't see it anymore, but, you never know the surprises. But we're going in the right way. We're going towards summer, so it's kind of cool. What else do we have? RJDA Dakota, nice to have you here. We have Joseph. I can definitely agree, Joe, that your show always gets me more interested in the hobby. Cool. That's the purpose, and I hope that I accomplish that purpose. And I know that sometimes it makes you spend a little more money, but it's part of the hobby. Jim, nice to have you here from Rhode Island. We have Kamakazi wants to rent some time on WRMI. Go for it. I'll be happy to fill it up with all sorts of programming. We'll bump off Brother Stare. I'm going to start my new. So he's got the Overcomer Ministry. How about I get my shortwave? How would we call it? The shortwave preaching hour. We'll preach about radios, buying radios, putting antennas up, and listening to the radio. Shortwave preaching hour. I like that. Fast Load got a Raspberry Pi 400 for ham stuff when out for camping. Cool. You're running your SDR stuff on it, I would guess. What else do we have? What else do we have? Let's check it out. Try to get down. We got a lot of little questions from a friend through the email. Then we're going to read the email. And so here we go. Solar Flux 180. That's good. It's not been there for such a long time, eh? Pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. Nah, no Discord. Got enough of what I'm have to deal with. We'll keep it the way it is, and I think it's all right like that, Petro. Joseph Nusser says monitoring SDRs tonight. Cool. Almesam says I've been snowed on in June, but then that was up around 10,000 feet. Yeah, that's kind of a different place. Johnny, nice to have you here. Johnny Sorrentino. Alex Kaufman, nice to have you here from East Iowa. We have Stuart All, nice to have you on board. He's here because of the cartoon. What else do we have? Alan is here because of the radio goodness. That's perfect. That's perfect. Skip Wave DX, nice to have you on board. Fast Load has 14996 coming in. Chas Tank, nice to have you on board from Louisville, Kentucky, USA. By the way, the QSL, if you want to have a QSL card, I don't know how long a QSL from Russia takes these days with what's happening, but you can ask for a RWM QSL card. Somebody asked me one day, so what do you actually report on a QSL for, a time station? It's like, well, you got 1 second time pips at, 019 UTC. And then, of course, RWM is not too bad because they cycle through different types of signals. So from 1 second time pips, then they have right now, they just started at 020, the quick pips that are much faster. Then you'll have a tone. Then you'll have the Morse code ID as RWM. And it's kind of a cycle that goes on through an hour. So hearing the time pips, the fast time pips right now. So it's kind of interesting. 10051 with look at that, 10051 with Gander Radio. Weather from Newfoundland is pretty strong. Upper sideband. Pretty strong Gander Newfoundland weather on 10051 upper sideband. Let's try all the frequencies. Let's try 13 to 70. 13 to 70 is kind of weak. Let's try 6604. Yeah, 6604 is not bad. 3485. Got some interference there, but I hear it. But definitely 10051 upper sideband is the winner here. Gander, Newfoundland, Valmet Station. So propagation seems interesting tonight. Of course, solar reflex is very high, so it's kind of cool. What else do we have? What else do we have? Yeah, that's why you got to use lower sideband. What you do, Joseph, is you go on 14997 and you put your radio in lower sideband. So it moves you away from WWV. That's the nice part of having a radio that has separate upper lower sideband. David White, nice to have you here, Dave. KC2ICA. You got a buzzer on 14445. Let me go check 15445. No, there's that big radar signal. That's a radar signal. And it's very wide. It's from about 15435 all the way to 154. So if I click here, 15435 to 15455 roughly. This is an over the horizon radar signal coming from I think this one is from Cyprus, if I'm not mistaken. I think this is one of the signals coming out of Cyprus. So this is an over the horizon radar you see there. Kind of an interesting. So it's got that signal there, and it's got a receive antenna and another that gets the kind of the echo. Francis Moore, been using the power pole connectors that they are the best in my opinion. Also got a PL 880, picked up lots more of Morse and vocal around 7,000 kilohertz, I would guess. India, Far East, USA, as good as my ICOM. Cool. Frank, nice to have you here. Good evening. 14996 coming in Ronkonkoma, New York. Cool. Jim's radio check. Tomorrow, WGN radio will be on the air for 100 years. Cool. All of these radios celebrating in the last year and now we're in the 2020s, so a lot of AM broadcasters started in the early 1920s. So we're going to have a lot of those 100-year station. What I particularly find cool is a station that's still on the air 100 years later. This is so cool. I always find that fun. Yes, Fred got the buzzer in 145. Greg, nice to have you here. Yesterday you were using the same JNATS 505 on SSB tuning 20 meters, 40 and 60. Yes. Here's a question. Why are RWM and WWV, WWVH so close together? Because there is so the time signal stations are not where they are just by accident, for the most part. CHU is an exception because it's like out there, but there are internationally allocated spaces that are meant for time stations. That's why Italy, Brazil, and any China are all on 10 or 15 or 5 megahertz. It's specifically allocated, but it's allocated 5 kilohertz above and below. So the time stations, if they want to be on a time signal utility assigned frequency, they have to be in those ranges. So what happens is that you can be on frequency like everybody, which means you risk having maybe interference from any other time station. So it happens here. Sometimes 10 megahertz, you can have WWV and you can have the Brazilian one in the background. So, there are risks of interference. So I would guess RWM chose that off frequency to be a little outside of the main frequencies everybody are using and have their own little thing. So, it works. I mean, it's easy to get. I mean, look at the Italy station. The Italy station is on 10 megahertz. I mean, WWV here dominates pretty much. So it makes it difficult to hear the Italian one, but we're hearing the Russian one. Why? Because it's just a little off. But it is standards. So 5 megahertz, 5 kilohertz above and below is a international standard time frequency. 10, 15, they're all 20. They're all assigned for time stations, but there are exceptions to the rule. CHU is not on any assigned official time frequency stations. I don't know how they chose. Actually, I'd be curious to know how CHU ever chose their frequencies. Because if you guys remember, back in the day, CHU was on 3330, 7335, and 14670. Now it's moved. Now 7335 had to move for a simple reason. They didn't have to move, actually. You know what? International rules of radio frequencies. You know what? Countries can just say to hell with it, and I don't care, and broadcast anywhere. And you know what? That is simply the way that a lot of countries work. But the thing is, 7335 moved because there was a reassignment of the 41 meter band. So if you guys remember in the 80s and the 70s, the international broadcast bands for region 1, which is Europe, you were able to broadcast up to 7100 kilohertz, which meant that the 41 meter or the 40 meter ham band was covered. And in the 80s, it was literally covered in international broadcasts, including Radio Moscow on 10 frequencies. In the 90s, there was a reassignment. The Region 1 broadcasts for international broadcasts on 40 meters or 41 meters was reassigned that they had to start at 7,200. That's why now it's only 7200 and above that you can hear some broadcasts from Europe. The Middle East also is in there. But stations in North America are not allowed 7200 to 73. So what happened is that the ITU redesigned what is what. And 7335, which back in the day was a utility frequency. It was permitted to be, any utilities could be there. So CHU was there because it was on a utility frequency. When they reassigned in the 90s, it became an international broadcast band. Utilities were not allowed anymore in that range. So CHU, which didn't have to move, if it didn't move, nobody would have said anything. But to follow international rule for the ITU, they decided, well, what do we do? And one of the things that was scary back then is that the move from 7335 to 7850 cost $100,000 to do, which was a lot of money for a station that has a very fixed budget. So 100,000 grand. What do you do? 100 grand. That's it. It's $100,000. What do you do? And there was actually and I remember because I answered, there was a survey done by CHU, by the, sorry, the, what was it? The government agency that actually oversees CHU time signal. They sent out and asked people to answer a set of questions. One of them was, how important is CHU time signal and to be maintained on all of the frequencies? And I remember I wrote to them, um, because I told them that that is the Canadian time signal station, and that for most of Canada, the 7335 frequency was probably one of the best to cover all of Canada. Of course, 14670 is probably good when you're on the edge, like in Vancouver, for example. Here, it's always skipping over. And so a lot of people answered, and they finally said, okay, we're going to spend $100,000 to retune everything to 7850, where they actually are today. So these are, you know, agreements. They're technically supposed to be followed, but look at the international broadcasters. Just an example here. The international broadcasters, they're everywhere. I mean, look at WRMI or WWCR. 15770 and 15825 is outside the international broadcast band, as the ITU has in frequency range. 15600 is where the 19-meter band ends officially, but there's stations all above it. It shows you that there's kind of no real respect. And actually, there was an interesting little bit about this on Ask WWCR. The Ask WWCR show a couple of weeks ago mentioned, and it was the first time I heard them mention, how some of their frequencies were outside the official band plan for the international broadcasts. And this has been going on for a long time. I mean, in the 70s and the 80s, stations were everywhere. A lot of stations from, like, I remember Vietnam and all of that, they were all outside the international broadcast bands everywhere. People, stations back then wanted to escape the huge amount of stations that were preventing you from listening to them. So what would they would do is they would just go outside the bands and broadcast there. I mean, nobody ever complained. Nobody ever complained. And it was so funny because WWCR complained about that RTTY signal that comes from the U.S. Navy station out in the Azores. That RTTY that you hear on 6115 that interferes with WWCR comes from the Azores. It's the U.S. Navy station broadcasting there. And they complained about that interference from there with a signal that shouldn't be in the international broadcast bands, because absolutely that signal should not be in an international broadcast band. The utility frequencies are everywhere else. And it just got to me that, so you're complaining of an out of band utility when you are an out of band broadcaster. That's kind of interesting. Think about it. That is kind of very interesting. So it's like, okay. You're complaining about something that you're doing yourself. Okay. I wonder if your big, powerful signal on 15825 isn't interfering on something utility somewhere in the world. Who knows? Maybe you don't know, but it does. So I don't know. It's just kind of funny. When I heard that, it was like, yeah, you're complaining about something you're doing yourself. That's interesting. So what else do we do? Carl Icon, nice to have you on board from New York. My weather station is a UHF. The sensors are all UHF on 433 megahertz. It's not Wi-Fi. And so I've got my sensor on the front balcony. All the sensors on the front balcony right now. Actually, I put the wind and rain and all the sensors basically outdoors are just next to my MLE30 loop in the front. I had an idea and I thought maybe I could put it in the back, but the back is where I'm transmitting with 100 watts on an FT450. And I thought too close for comfort to a 100 watt transmitter. So I thought I'm going to put it in the front. There's less chance that I'm going to blow it up somehow, and there's less chance there's going to be interaction when I actually just broadcast or just use my ham station. What else do we have? Let's try to move on here. We got some questions to ask you guys tonight. Jason, VE9JMC, nice to have you on board. Yeah, it's roughly 433 ish to 557 ish. It is a radar. This is a radar signal. Keegan DXer would listen to the Shortwave Preaching Hour by Michelle. Stuart Hall, nice to have you on board. What are some of your favorite shortwave programs? I like a lot. I like a lot of what history shows are. I'm the guy, I like news from a different source. So I will listen to any news bulletin from a station from another country to just kind of talk about it, kind of hear the difference, kind of hear what they have to say, and maybe find a little tidbits of, okay, an interesting point of view, different from what we have here. So I will listen to news and also because often what it's going to do is it's going to at the same time give me news of what's happening in their own country. Let's face it, like I was hearing something about the Romanian government the other day and thinking, well, that's an interesting story about Romania and its government, what's happening right now. Something we'll not hear on the local media at all, So it's like I have the pulse of a country. That's why I think many of the stations that left, for whatever it costs to be on shortwave compared to their huge budgets, should have stayed on, because it gives you the pulse of a country. Now what do we know? Look, today I had news from, I think it's Norway. Is it Norway? The only news I got from Norway is a nut job that was using a arrows to kill people in some shopping mall or something. And I'm like, that's the only news I get now from Norway, is when a nut job does something. And every country that left shortwave, that's pretty much the news we got. When will you hear from a country that you never hear something from? Oh, Switzerland. There's a guy that just killed himself in the middle of the place and killed a bunch of people. Wow, that's the news I want to have from Switzerland. Look, nut jobs like that we have everywhere. I don't want to hear about that. It's sad, but I don't want to hear about that. I want to hear what is happening in Switzerland. What are these people doing right now? What is the big issue in Switzerland? And I miss that from the stations that left. And they don't understand that there's a certain number of people that kind of, you're giving us the pulse of your country, plus your news of and your viewpoints of the world events that we hear on the local stations here. So news, I like the history stuff. If they have anything history, it's kind of cool. Radio Romania has an amazing series every week on the communist era Romania, how things were and how they had to, just, deal with it and how they lived. It's super interesting. Love that. I like, I listen to these stations that are African, a lot of like Radio France, even Voice of America, BBC Africa is super cool. I'm getting news from Africa. I know a little more what's happening. Anybody here know that there was a attempted coup in Mali this week? Who knows? Anybody of you guys know? Say yes, I knew. I bet you that not a lot of people learn about that. I learned it because I heard it on Shortwave that there was an attempted coup to reverse the government in Mali this week. And that came from Vatican Radio News Service for Africa, which is amazing, by the way. You know, Vatican Radio, when you mention Vatican, for some of you, it might be like, oh, religious stuff with the Pope. No, they do have a little bit of that, but no. Their news service is amazing. And the African service, great. You know what's happening in every single country in Africa, and you know what's happening in Africa. Do you know what's happening in Africa with the local news that we have? No, nobody knows what's happening there. Who cares? That's pretty much the way the West and generally the rich countries are like, who cares what's happening with Africa? Because that's the way we're acting actually in news. That's why I like shortwave. So stuff like that. Stair style. No, I'll do it. I'll do my shortwave preaching hour in the style of Alan Wiener. Now you got to get out there, shortwave radio, and buy that MLA30 that sucks the airwaves. And so, what else do we have? Random moaning between radios. I like that. Jetcrafter S15445 in Maine. Let me go down. John Hummel, Newell, VE5JHN. Nice to have you here from Saskatchewan, Canada. Pretty cool. Frank Gregg, nice to have you here from South Carolina. Dawson Love, the time stations really give you a strong sense of what a second is. Yep. Log 2112, nice to have you on board. I would have made it on time today, but Riviera Paradise, Stevie Ray was on, just ended. No, I did not. Oh, yeah, the auction site. Yeah, the radio. Yeah, I saw that. Cool AM radio. Yes, I got your message. Definitely. Michael, nice to have you here from northern New Jersey. Johnny says, listening to you for the past few months brings me closer to my grandfather, who I miss, and I'm now thinking of maybe buying a Texan. Cool, go for it and have fun. Alan, 10051 here among the Static Crash. 10051 good in Toronto. Landy Kwaterski, 15445 loud in Wisconsin. Pretty cool. Like 2112, barely on 10051. Alan, Shannon Volmet on 5505. That's from Ireland. Tosin Love, getting weird choppy carrier from Russian time station on 14997 LSB. It could be a if it's a, because it has time pips, but if it's the constant tone, it could be propagation also. Hey, Radio Bert. Nice to have you here, my friend. I am 20 minutes, 18 minutes back in the chat. I'm trying to catch up, guys. Log 2112 gets CHU better than WWV in Texas. Jason just made a contact with the Faroe Islands on 14193. Okay, guys, I'm leaving. I got to go try that. OY9JD. Wow. Cool. RJDA Dakota, heard VNG in Australia before on 12. Yeah, they were on 12 and 16. 16 megahertz was the other frequency. Radio Bert, I watch your live streams every Saturday, and today is my first Wednesday. I watch half of your live stream on Wednesday, and today is my first. Cool. Welcome aboard, Radio Bert. Zen Faros, nice to have you here, following along from the Long Island Expressway, coming home from my students' PhD graduations. Cool. A signal processing thesis. Wow. Meta Lunar, nice to have you here. First Michael, last Whalen, nice to have you here. Meta Lunar, was wondering, do you know why the time signals use the tones that they do? Both the US and Canadian time signals change the tones or click tones during the broadcast. Is there a meaning? There's probably some scientific meaning to it. I know, for example, that one of the tones that is actually sent by WWV is the exact tone for what is it? The um, musical note A above the middle on a piano, something like that, above the middle scale, something like that. And actually, you can tune your you can tune your musical instruments using WWV if you want. So that's one of the things that I know. I'm pretty sure they must have a reason to choose a specific tone. I don't think it's a random, let's just, yeah, the A440 hertz, exactly. 440 hertz. There is certainly a reason why the tones are chosen. I don't think that's random for a number for most of the time stations. As for CHU, I don't know the reason for that tone. I never actually checked why they chose that tone specifically, but I'm pretty sure that it's chosen for a reason. The Rorax, nice to have you on board from New York. Ron Kokomo. So the town is Ron Kokomo. Okay. One of these names sometimes it's like when you never heard the name. VA2XMX, it's possible. It's possible that CHU picked those for that reason. It's possible they chose it. Logically, of course, if you had chosen 5, 10, and 15 megahertz for CHU, with WWV being so close, it would not have been the greatest idea in the world. So definitely, but they could have been in some distance and still be in some kind of ITU time station thing. But I don't know. But that probably, I'm pretty sure somebody came out and said, nope, we can't be on those frequencies. There's already WWV. Jet Crafter getting the Royal Air Force weather station on 5450 from the UK. What else do we have? Can we pick up shortwave on our local TV channels? Not really. Not same frequency range. Keegan DXer remembers when CHU was on 7335 and the announcement of the move to 7850 in 2009. DJ Corduroy, nice to have you here from the St. Lawrence County, New York. Nice to have you here, Josh. KD2ZIF. Always better to be here than never. Absolutely. Radio Bird lives in Massachusetts. Mark Trager, nice to have you here. What do we have? Block 2112 international agreements as far as shortwave goes means quad. That's why I've heard Aero and a marine range in the past. If the frequency is clear enough, they will use it. Actually, you got to be careful. Aero communications and marine communications follow very strict rules on their band plans. So it's very careful. If you hear something, double check the frequency you're listening to. Because aero communications and marine communications, I've never heard outside of their designated frequency ranges. These are extremely, they're really, really important and fixed. But you could hear, and that's other stuff. You could have heard some military stuff. Military tends to like whatever. Military just look at the Marsnets. Look where they are broadcasting. Some are like in the middle of a marine band or whatever. It's like, I don't care. I'm here and I'm just broadcasting. So, it's international agreements are there. It's like the, it's the same as the ham radio gentleman agreement. What's the gentleman agreement on ham radio? You broadcast this mode on that frequency range. Okay. So if you're on 14200, well, it's technically, SSB, it's USB mode, it's upper sideband voice. That's pretty much what's happening on 14200. But if somebody pops up there with Morse code, CW, he's not infringing any rules. He's in a ham band broadcasting. He's allowed CW. You can pop up there with, PSK 31. Hey, let's go for it. You're not infringing any rules, but you're kind of not exactly where you should be. And some people might not be happy. The ITU and the rules should probably be more important because they are not gentlemen agreement, but they are really defined rules of where each broadcast style and type and whatever should be. But every country does what it wants, and nobody's gonna ever complain about it, anyways. Joseph Nusa 9330. Yep, absolutely. Lyndon Price. Nice to have you here. What else do we have? Yeah, Vietnam. Vietnam was on those odd frequencies, 100040. Even the BBC back in the day when the BBC was on 15070, it was just below the 19-meter band international broadcast that started on 15100. So what else do we have? So nice to have you here, Rod Radio Bert. Q. Quentin from Halifax. VE1QET. Build my own weather station with a microcontroller. Cool. That must be a fun project, actually. Kev Michael, nice to have you on board. Thanks for the shortwave program. Been away from the radios. Been trying to get over the air TV, but that square antenna proved to be nothing. Okay. Corbett DC, what radar? The one on 15445. Sorry, still there, strong actually, from 15433 to 15457 or something like that. Still very strong right now. B2XMS HF completely blanked out, and my Q2H Trezomite, I cannot hear anything. There's just too much interference around here. Wow, that is sad. James Farley. Listening to 7295 BBC and Dari from Austria transmitter. VGXMS Passion is 10 meters, 2 meters, 70 centimeters, 33 centimeter band. So cool. Dawson Loaf, 14997 lower sideband Morse code. Patrick, nice to have you here from Washington. Q lives 2 hours from the old RCI Sackville, New Brunswick site. Oskari Loitinoja. Sorry for misspelling or mispronouncing your name, Oskari. Nice to have you here. First post here, and I have a question. This might have been asked earlier, but I can't find your schedule anywhere on the live broadcast, Wednesday and Saturday. What time? So it's always 0 hours UTC Thursday. Technically, it's Thursday. We're in UTC. 0 hours UTC Thursday, which is in North America Wednesday evening. So that's why I always say Wednesday evening. But it's technically Thursday and Saturday at 20 hours Universal Time. So just remember 0 UTC Thursday and 20 hours UTC on Saturday. And where are you located, Scotty, by the way? Gabriel, nice to have you here from Uruguay. Pretty cool. CX32SWL. James Binder, nice to have you here. Jet Drafters getting the Shannon, Ireland Volmet in Maine on 3413 5507 8957 and 13264. So let's try it out. So I'm going to go to 13264. Am I hearing Shannon, Ireland? Oh, wow. It's really good, too. I don't think I've ever heard it so good. Ireland time signal 13264. Upper Sideman. Try that, guys. Let's try 8957. Even 8957 is not bad. But that's a new one for me. That 13264. It's the first time I hear that one. 11 to what's the time signal station there? Not time signal, sorry, the vomit. 11253. You guys hearing 11253? That is that the RAF, Royal Air Force United Kingdom one? 11253 coming in here. Propagation is very surprising tonight. But I'm amazed at that 13264. 13264. Pretty cool. Wow. That one's coming in well. I'm getting S9 even more at times. Keegan DXer and 8UUP, Bill in Michigan, reportedly hearing FM stations from Tulsa, possibly my locals here in Northwest Arkansas. Wow. Greg Vessel, can you and should you take a ham radio on a cruise? That is a touchy one. I think you have to, first of all, ask what are the regulations, because that's like bringing, it's like if you wanted to operate your ham station on the plane, a little bit like the same thing. So you will have to ask what are the regulations there, because maybe it is not permitted because it could interfere with the ship's, different equipment. I've never heard of a ham operating from a cruise ship. So for sure, you would have to ask permission, and you probably need to ask a special permission for that. Because I don't think anybody can just, I don't see myself showing up on a cruise ship with my FT450 and 100 feet of wire and saying, I'm setting up here. Sorry, guys, no pool today on the deck because I'm setting up 100 feet of wire. Cool AM radio here in the Netherlands. Pirates are using part of the 3.5 meter and 80 to 87 megahertz in wide FM. Wow. Larry N2ICZ, nice to have you on board. Don't be sorry you're late. At least you're here. Kev Michael, Canada on 1010, Calgary, Alberta. Raider Bird, a question. I'm Gabe Elliott and I live in Massachusetts. Why do they shut off analog? In what range? If you're talking about a specific range, shortwave, or just shortwave in general, or any bands? What bands? Al Georgie, nice to have you here. Does a shortwave radio work better in a city or a small town? Well, technically, it should technically work better in a small town because there should be less noise. But it depends on the neighbors and how close the house or the neighbors are in your small town. But technically, the less population around you, the better shortwave will be. So if you decide that you want to live on a desert island, you're probably going to have the best DX in the world. So, it's one of those things we can actually put a mathematical equation to it. Shortwave improves to, something like the reverse of the population available. So it's like the more propagation, the less population. It's the equation we got to build. So that goes well. It actually rhymes. The more population, the less shortwave propagation. The less population, the more propagation. I like that. The less population, the more propagation. That's the word of the day, guys. So, coming to you from Sesame Street, the word of the week. The less population, the more propagation. Say that 10 times in a row. Mike Jam, nice to have you here. Gary 24 fun fact about CHU, that tone signal can be heard during one scene on the Rebel base in The Empire Strikes Back. Oh, really? Really? Huh. Interesting. That also is one of the things that's important to Skip and 2EI that brought up, and that's true. The tones are definitely there and can help for calibration of scientific instruments. That is totally true. And I mean, we use it to calibrate our frequencies. I mean, you use the tone of WWV on a Texan receiver that has calibration to zero in for a single sideband. Uh, Icon, CHU transmit 3 kilowatt signals on 3.33, 1467, and a 5 kilowatt on 7850. These non-standard time signal frequencies were chosen to avoid interference from WWV and WWVH. So that's pretty much it. John Earnshaw, nice to have you here. Radio spectrum awareness is a tool to improve and bring greater awareness to the hobby. M0JFE, nice to have you here. BZNRLD, CHU frequencies close to the ham bands, good for checking propagation. Yep, definitely. Definitely. Hugo, nice to have you on board from Brazil. Cool, Greg. Yeah, the ATS 505 that I actually have right here on my desk because I've been playing around with it. Let's try to go down as fast as possible. VA2XMS says 14285 is the unofficial Hellenic frequency for Greek hams around the world. I talked with a station in Greece on my FT450 last week, 2 weeks ago. I have him confirm in my log. That was cool. Yeah, WWV, WWVH use different tones so that we can actually make a difference of who is who, and also the female and male voice to make a difference and know which one we are actually hearing. Yeah, Grenada, Radio Grenada was on odd frequencies too. Absolutely. James Binder, yes, I did get a new weather station. I'm going to show you guys in a few minutes. What else do we have? The Rorax, back in the 70s, I used to hear a local Canadian station on the 49 meter band in the morning. Yeah, back in the 70s, there were quite a few Canadians. There was CFCX in Montreal, which was the shortwave outlet of CFCF 600 on 6005 kilohertz. There was the Calgary one that is actually still on now, 6030 in Calgary, Alberta, with some comedy skits. CFRX in Toronto on 6070. And there was one in Vancouver at one point. And I think there was one in the East Coast also at some point. Fais attention à toi, DVDXer. À la prochaine. Well, Scotty, nice to have you here from Sweden. RJDA Dakota, something on 18970, which is probably a China radio jammer. So it's zero. Maybe it's not there anymore, but 18970. Let's just try it anyways. Well, yeah, it is still there. I see it here. Look at that propagation. There's something on the 18970. And if I look at If I look at EIBS space on 18970, 18970, Sound of Hope Taiwan. So this is the CNR1 because it does say here from 23 to 10 hours UTC, CNR1 jammer / fire drink. So that S9 plus 10 signal on 18970 is the CNR1 Chinese jammer. So you're hearing China on 18970. That gives you an idea of how propagation is great right now. At this time, we're hearing China, even on the East Coast, 18970. Michael, I like your review on the CNGN. I have the Radio Shack version. You are spot on some quacks. Yep, does have some weird quacks, definitely. Kevin Michael, 2-meter ham has been dead here in my area. 41-meter is active at night. Big Island and Marine. Jeff King, nice to have you here from Jacksonville, Florida. Current IT guy, nice to have you here. S. Fred, 13264, strong in Toronto as well. Tosin Love, 13264. Skip into EI, 13264, loud in New Jersey. Jason, V9JMC, yes, 11253 is the RAF Volmont. S. Fred, 11253. Mark, 13264, perfect in southeast Wisconsin, S-Line Plus. John, yes, 7375 is Radio Romania. Scott, KC2CAD, nice to have you on board. 10 miles south of Buffalo, New York. Nice to have you here. Kevin Michael, JJY, Tokyo, Japan on 8,000 kilohertz time signal. Radio Bird, what's your favorite FM AM stations? Oh, man, I don't listen much to AM FM radio. So I'd say if I have an FM favorite right now is 103.3 FM, which is South Shore, which is actually broadcasting from Montreal on top of the Mont Royal on the CBC antenna, which gives me an 80s music show on Friday night. AM stations, you know what? If I would have to say one AM station I love, I will tune at night when propagation comes in from far away and tune WCBS 880. Love the format of how the news just flows. This is happening, this is happening, this is happening. You know, in Montreal, we have 2 AM stations that are a big joke right now. 600 kilohertz and 940 kilohertz were to be 24-hour news stations. They are 24-hour music stations right now. And nothing's happening. And you know, I hear WCBS out of New York, and I crave for a AM station that has flow news, just like WCBS. Go with the news. Don't spend 10 minutes on the same item. Give me the straight up of this is happening, this is happening, this is why it's happening. Let's go to the next news. Let's go for it. And you know what? It would be amazing to have that here. But I believe, you know, these guys are not doing anything with these stations. You know what's going to happen? Some days they're going to be off the air, and that's it. Which is sad, because I think AM is great for that. AM is the perfect place to have news and talk. And you know what? Even out of that, I mean, how many of you guys has listened to music on AM back in the day? You know, FM here in Montreal is pretty much complete. There's no more space on the FM band. I believe the only frequency left is 107.9. And I don't want to have a station there because it would block my reception of the WVPR station, WBPS in Burlington, Vermont. And the thing here is that why not put this oddball whatever music station on AM? Why not? You know, why not? Why not? If there'd be an all day 80s station on AM, maybe I'd tune it sometimes. I mean, I'm not that critical of the quality of the sound when I listen to music, except for when I want to listen to music. I don't know how you guys get the drift, but if I want to seriously listen to music, yes, high quality is great. But just, to like background music noise, I want to hear something. Why not? I think it'd be nice. So, I think the problem with AM is the high noise level that probably everybody's having on the radios. But I'd like to have some kind of really WCBS New York style. Let's go with the news quick, 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 quick. Let's go for it. That'd be great. Jetcrafter 11253 here in Maine. Cool. Jason V9 JMC. Yes, you can take 2 meters, 70 meters handheld on a cruise ship. I've made a few contacts with a ham. Cool. Randy Phillips, done it. You need to talk to the captain about it. Cool. Does the guy give you directions like, well, don't be near that equipment? Or is the captain going to say, well, you can do it, but do it in this part of the ship rather than that part of the ship? Does it give you instructions just out of curiosity? Chris, G7VEO, nice to have you here. 20 meters good from UK to US, Canada. James Farley, 18970, got carrier here. What is it? It's China. I hear that it's not strong, but I hear the Chinese talk. Mad Max 2069, nice to have you on board. No, it's still there. I still have it. 18970, I still have it here at 0113. Maybe you had a different bearing and they just switched. Mark Drager, I took a small text on a Caribbean cruise with no problems. Yeah, because that's a receiver. Here we're talking really transmitter. That's where we're talking about, a little more delicate. Jetcrafter, getting U.S. Air Force on 4724-8992-11175. John Public, ITU regs say you can with the ship's master permission, which is probably always the case. Rick Cutter, interesting show. Take care. Skip parade, that needs to be a t-shirt. That should be a t-shirt, absolutely. I need to write it down so I don't forget it. The less population, the more propagation. That is a t-shirt, definitely. Shane, nice to have you here from Minnesota, W0NKA. Our JDA Dakota has got 25 megahertz loud and clear WWV. Schoolhouse Rock, less population equals more propagation, but today I'm still just as queal. Skip, back in the day, back when ham rigs were not general coverage, many had CHU for calibration. Oh, interesting. Kevin Michael, Japan, Australia, and New Zealand favorite DX targets. Zen Farrows has 5505 Shannon Volmet. Reggie's got Amerlong HQ 140X. Got to do some work on it. Bring that to life, man. Dustin Love is listening from me. North Carolina Web is the art tonight. Yogi, good morning. Nice to have you here, my friend. Reggie is KN4 ADM. Yep, Solarflex 180. Pretty amazing. I'm going to check out 25, just out of curiosity. I got a big interference there. right smack on it. But I think, yeah, WWV is making it 25 megahertz. WWV, oh wow, and really strong at the peaks too. If I didn't have that darn interference on it, wow. S9 plus 40 on WWV right now on 25 megahertz. This is amazing. And at this time of night, pretty crazy. Pretty crazy, man. V2XMX 940 News was awesome for back in the day. Yeah. Yeah, it is unusual. I never hear it at this time either. It could be sporadic e-skip happening also. That's not impossible. It could be some sporadic e-skip happening. Yeah, 980 CKGM VA2XMS. Do you remember in the Sunday, there was Casey Kasem's top 40. I remember that as a kid, getting to the Casey Kasem top 40 on 980 CKGM. JD Dakota. I used to always hear music across the AM dial back in the day. If it were in stereo, more power to it. If it's done well. Keegan DXer heard 710 WRR, 770 WABC, 880 WCBS, and 1010 WINS at night occasionally. These are all the strong local ones here in Montreal. I hear those stations are the standard stations that I hear. Yeah, WFAN, the sports station, 660 New York, Johnny. Hear it very well here too. Current IT guy. We used to have a KYW type news station here in Pittsburgh. KQV 1410, but they shut down a few years ago. Transmitter move and now low power religious station. Yeah. Kevin Michael, I agree. I like news that tell the story. KHJ 930, KRLA 1110 was our stations in Los Angeles, California when I was growing up. Man, they were great. You know, I recall reading somewhere that WCBS 880 and the New York market is the most popular station around. People are craving WCBS New York, and I know why. I just listened to it and I'm like, wow, this is great. Jason V9JMC have 1 a.m. station here on 930. Used to be 50 kilowatt in power and play oldies. Now it's down to 2,500 watts daytime, 50 watts at night. Wow, 50 watts at night. That is very low power. Daniel Mark LeBlanc, nice to have you here from New Brunswick. Hello there, my friend. Hope you are well. So 25 megahertz. Look at that, guys. I have not heard WWV 25 megahertz at 0120 UTC this strong. When it peaks, S9 plus 40. Amazing. Look at that. So that's interference right next to it, but the peak is here for WWV 25 megahertz. Amazing. Amazing. And that weird noise pattern, I don't know where it comes from, but it's some kind of really bad switching power supply. Like 2112, 0 on 25 megahertz. Jetcrafter, wow, 25 megahertz at night. S-Fred, 25 megahertz is drawn out by noise. Keegan has sporadic E-skip FMDX from Tijuana and Phoenix in Northwest Arkansas earlier. Keegan the Extra wants to try 90.3 CKUT Montreal with via eSkip here sometime. It'd be really, really cool. It'd be even cooler if you would DX it while we are actually live on the show. But who cares? If you hear 90.3 CKUT once in Arkansas, you gotta let me know. Jet Crafter 7850 is so clear here in Maine. It's like the transmitter is outside my house. Kev Michael, remember hearing WBZ Boston 1010 and WBZ's on 1030 though. XCRB 1090 Tijuana, Mexico. Wow, with Wolf and Jack. Wow. Pretty crazy. Okay, what else do we have? Radio Bird. Well, they shut down analog TV to simply put place for the digital TV format. Radio Bird. Now radio is all digital, so that's why they shut down all the analog frequencies for TV, pretty much. The PBRSTG, nice to have you here from Northern Green from Mountains of Vermont. Nate, 6925 upper sideband, pirate apparently. Let's check it out here. I'm going to check it out on this radio here. 6925. Oh man, it's super strong too. Look at that. A very strong pirate here. 6925 upper sideband. 6925 upper sideband. Very strong pirate right now. If you guys want to check it out. If I'm going to go on HF Underground. Anybody has ID'd the station yet? HF Underground. WTF Radio. 6925 right now. WTF Radio is what's on at this time. So it's very powerful here. (6925) kilohertz. WTF pirate radio station is here. So kind of cool. Really cool. So thanks for that, Nate. Jeff King, I wish Jacksonville, Florida had a music station on AM. This is a black gospel station and a Creole station that plays some music. 3 news talk stations that are worthless and a talk station. You know, that's the comment I have all the time is, why is radio dead on AM FM? Why is radio dead on AM FM? Come on, look at the programs, please. What these guys don't understand that it's the most boring, crappy stuff on most markets with all of these stations. You know, oh, we know what's good for you. No, you probably don't, because your ratings are down all the time, and we don't listen because it's crappy programs. So, you know. Current IT guy, 1010 is dead for me. KDKA, 1020 transit on some nice WBZ. Here, 1010 is funny because depending on the propagation conditions, most of the time it's CFRA in Toronto, but sometimes it'll be WINS also. Take care, VA2XMX Petro. Always nice to have you on board. We'll get, Bobby. You know, we're having fun, and these questions can be kept. Actually, the email itself says it all. I'm going to read the first part, and even the email itself understands this show. But we're going to get to the questions. If it's not today, it will be Saturday. But we're going to try to get there. We're having fun tuning around and just really having a blast here. Keegan used 25 megahertz WWV as an indication for FM skip. I would choose actually for an indication of FM skip. What I would start to do personally, my trick is I go on Super Bowl channel 6, 27025. If there's a lot of skip there, I'm going to move on to 6 meters and check if there's some FT8 on 5313. If I hear FT8 there, then FM skip might be possible because we're now at 50 megahertz already. What else do we have? VA3 JPX. I miss the days of me listening to shortwave when I was 12 years old. Found it amazing that a little radio could hear stations from so far away. Yeah, and when we got through all of those old days when there's so many things to listen to, definitely an amazing time. Urban Exploration Mexico. Nice to have you on board. My report, Radio Exterior de España, arriving with strength. Local station on 17855, PL660, and a T2FD antenna. Cool. Current IT guys receiving the U.S. Air Force on 15016. Yeah, 1130, the Bloomberg station, which has a lot more of like economic news than standard news. V2XMX is all excited hearing 25 megahertz WWV on his PL600. Woohoo! And the basement. I mean, it's so strong. I'm not surprised. Pretty cool. Skip into EI, WWV 25 megahertz, loud and clear in New Jersey. North Carolina, Toast and Love has it weak. And let's try Gustavo Bernandez, WTWW 9940 tonight. Yep. What else do we have? Cool AM is 27700. You still use for SSTV. I've seen some report on I think it's on the HF Underground. I've seen some report of people hearing SSTV around that frequency, definitely. So I think it is still used. You know what? I'm just curious. Let's go 27700. Out of curiosity. If we hear anything there in upper sideband. But I've seen some 27 megahertz slow scan TV stuff. Oh, absolutely, Keegan. You have to post it. Daniel Marc LeBlanc. I was going through some of my dad's old ham radio and CB magazine and some of my late 80s and 90s popular communications magazines looking at the receivers of the day. And wow, talk about expensive. Oh, yeah. I mean, it was expensive to get a good radio back in the day. Really, really, really back in the day. It was very expensive. So, I want to just say, guys, a little promotion for myself. If you like what you were doing tonight, if you like the ambiance, if you like what is happening here, and want to give me a little something, we have the super chat that is active, and you can use one of the super chat activities to give me a little tip, a little something. If you do like what you hear, if you do like what you see, if you do like me being here all the time talking about radio, hey, why not use the super chat functionalities and do a little something with that? It's greatly appreciated. That goes towards future radios, future technology that I will talk about. And of course, you guys like my honest, very open opinion on everything. So it's available, guys. Just saying. VT Radio is hearing 25 megahertz at 6 in Vermont. Tony McFlatty, nice to have you here. We have Jet Crafter 6925 strong in Maine. Wow. Current IT guy 6925 can copy in Pennsylvania. James 6925 plus 50 in Ottawa. Skip into EI 6925 booming in New Jersey. Dustin Loaf S8. Urban Exploration Mexico 6925 sounds super far here in Mexico City. Current IT guy, yep. WTF Radio. Kevin Michael, yeah, definitely a lot of junk on AM. And I would even extend this to a lot of junk on FM too. Even FM. Skipwave DX, I listen to 740 AM Zoomer from Toronto on my crystal sets at night in the Catskill Mountains in New York. Cool. Yeah, 580 CFRA in Ottawa. Did I say CFRA? Oh, sorry. I mean CFRB in Toronto. If I said CFRA, is like just it's CFRB in Toronto. Shane, as my friend John says about tuning the band, spin and win. It's like a lottery. Spin and win. I like that. That's the other t-shirt. So less population, more propagation, t-shirt number 1. And tuning the band, spin and win. That's t-shirt number 2. We are actually doing t-shirt tonight. Oh, man. King and the Extrahertz CFZM Toronto Zoomer under KRMG in Tulsa on 740. Yeah, I see the digital beep or ash that it sends Carl Icon on the 433 megahertz. Yes, I have received it. Absolutely. Denmark LeBlanc shortwave was horrible around 9:30 p.m. here in Atlantic Canada, and now it's coming in better than usual. So, what else do we have? Let's go down. Kong lives. Greetings from Lima, Peru. Nice to have you here. Just got my first shortwave radio in the mail yesterday. A Texan R909 went up to my patio in late afternoon, hooked 2-meter wire with crocodile clips. And did you hear a lot of stuff? Uncle Justin, KB2RMC. Nice to have you here, Western New York State. Actually, analog cable is pretty much gone too. Today we need these boxes because we're receiving what these boxes are receiving today is just most of them are actually like internet stuff getting to the box or specific frequency stuff, digital stuff that are getting over cable, but analog cable is gone. Here we don't have analog cable. I cannot take a cable that, like, I have cable here. If I take the cable and put it in my TV as an analog cable, there's nothing on there anymore. That was shut off a couple of years back. Maybe some places in the US still have it. That's possible. But I know that here in Montreal, it's gone. Cool AM is receiving 6925 in the Netherlands. So that's a darn good coverage. Real strong here still. Kong lives like the other end wire, a metal bird cage, and got stations in Portuguese from Brazil, I assume. Yeah, you probably got Radio Nacional Amazona, French-speaking station from France, I assume. Yeah, there could be a lot of different places for French, but cool. And continue playing around with that. Matthew, do you have the ability to watch TV? Yeah, on my big screen that I'm actually watching my face, and I see also the chat room there where I'm streaming. I could watch TV there, definitely. Yeah, Chris Smolinski, Cool AM Radio. He's been hearing a lot of things that are intriguing, that including that European station that's on 25 megahertz. Tosin Love 27.7 SSTV is getting more popular, I think. It's possible with the higher propagation. Kevin Michael is getting WWVH on 25 megahertz does not exist. Kevin Michael, 25 megahertz is not 20 and 25 WWVH are not there. WWVH Hawaii is on 510, 510 and 15 megahertz, maybe 2.5, but it's not on 20 and 25. 20 and 25 is WWV only. Take care, Jet Crafter. Always nice to have everybody here. Mark, 25 megahertz zero in southeast Wisconsin. What else do we have? The Mike WX50. Nice to have you here from Northwest Arkansas. JDA Dakota, with some very important exception. Both medium and FM here are both pretty much garbage. Yeah. Same here. Same here. Hey, I'm down to chat now. I've reached the bottom. Pretty cool. So first, you know what? I'm going to go to the email. And we have Bob in Delaware that I'm just going to stop here for a second. Send an email. Here we go. An email. So Bob in Delaware. Here we go. So Bob says, hello there. I am Bob. I'm in Delaware, USA, and I watch your live shows every week for the past year or so. Find them very interesting. I'm not a chat guy, so I'm not in the chat room, and nor do I go on Facebook. It's a lot of fun to have you tune the bands, have you talk about radio, and even talk about the old days of radio. I started listening back in 1971 and been listening for about 20 years, left the hobby, married, got children, life went on. In the past 2 years, I've been diagnosed with a cancer, and I've had to stop my hectic life and started being relaxed and wondering what I could do to change my mind and to also have fun. And one day, while going through YouTube, I was searching for radio, and then your channel came up with Shortwave Radio. You made me purchase a Texan PL 680 that I've been using for the past 8 months and having a lot of fun. I've been learning of all the differences that Shortwave has today. For example, first surprise was how empty the bands were when I turned it on. But I learned that the amount of noise around me might be a problem thanks to you. I actually have put a wire antenna outdoors, which greatly improved my reception. And I've been listening to many stations, including Radio Romania and many of the relays through WRMI, like Radio Prague and Radio Slovakia. Been having a lot of fun. Been also playing around with single sideband. And as you say, it's a little tricky, but I'm getting the hang of it and having a lot of fun. Thanks to you and thanks to your live show, one of the things that it brought to me is getting my worries of my health out of my mind and focusing more on radio. Your live shows are almost a healing process, and I'm glad that I have found them. You are, in the way that you talk and the way that you treat everybody, an amazing person. And I want to thank you so much for everything. And please do not stop what you are doing right now, because I would miss it deeply. Thank you so much, your friend Bob in Delaware. Now, I know that when you have emails and when you have questions, you don't necessarily go to all of it in one night. I have questions that over time, I wish you will ask your viewers. They are questions that came up to my mind, and I hope that you can share them and ask your audience what ask your audience these questions, and I will be very interested in seeing and hearing the answers to these questions as time goes by. You don't have to go through all of them right now, but from time to time, if you can pop one and I can see the chat room, I can hear you talk about it, give your own also opinion on it. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. You are an amazing guy, and you are helping me heal my cancer, I am sure. That is kind of touching, though, I got to say. So thank you, Bob. So he's got a list of questions, a lot of them, but he wants me to ask some of them. So I'm just gonna quickly go back down the chat here, so I don't go too much behind. And we're gonna go through questions one by one here, for sure. Quickly. What do we have? Scannery, KB1 PPJ, nice to have you on board. Computer broke, had to cobble together a new one. So welcome back. James Farley, ever heard anything from 2021? Yep, a lot of utilities over time. And now with higher propagation, do tune around. Anywhere from 20 to 25, you'll see that surprising the amount of communications you'll get there. Kevin Michael, have 20 WWV and 10. Thank you, Larry, and 2ICZ for the super chat little tip. Much welcome. Comrade, nice to have you here. Comrade Susie Wolf. Larry and 2ICZ, what a great email. 5 Virgus, very good letter indeed. So thank you so much, everybody. And it's kind of makes you feel good when you know that you can change the mind of somebody. And we all have moments that are we all have moments that we are not, and everybody, that's all of us. We all have moments when we have problems, or we have something that's on our mind, whether it's health, whether it's somewhere else, relationship, whatever. If not only radio is cool, but if this helps you cope with all of that, if this changes your mind, brings you to another level, at least temporarily, you know what? I find that cool. And we all look for something that can kind of, distract us from problems sometimes. Bruce Corbett, take care. Stay safe, my friend. Okay. The question number one that our friend Bob has is, what is the first broadcast, whether it be international or utility, the first broadcast that comes up to your mind that you heard and you remember that it could be or is probably some of the first broadcasts you've ever heard? So what he wants actually is, what's the first station you ever heard, whether it's a utility or an international broadcast, or at least that you think is in the first, because sometimes we might not remember. Mine, I got a blur, so I'm not totally sure of the first exact station, but I know that in the first night, one that pops out of my head quickly in 1982 for my first night of listening is Call Israel in 1982. That one stands out as one of the stations that night that I heard. So I always put it in Call Israel, my first station. It's not my first probably, but it's the one that pops out in my mind for 1982. So what is the first station you remember of on shortwave? Whatever it is, first station that could pop up in your mind. So that's an interesting question here. I'm going to actually look at the answers coming in. So for me, like I said, Call Israel is pretty much the first station I can recall back in the day. Um, Gordon Series 385. Hello there, my friend. Solitary radio listener from Southern Illinois. Nice to have you here. Bobby Burgess, WRMI. BT Radio is listening to 6925. It's 9 plus 30 in Vermont. Video Radio, first station, probably WWV on my dad's Signal Corps receiver. Robert, W5IUA, WLW 710 Clear Channel. Karen's IT Guy, Voice of Mongolia via WRMI on 5800. Jim Cook, HCJB. Larry, N2ICZ, Radio Moscow got me hooked on shortwave. Mike, WX50, Call Israel is probably one of the first as well, probably BBC too. RJDA Dakota, Call Israel was one of the first shortwave stations to send me a QSL. Holy Trinity, Radio Havana, Cuba. Mark says Radio Netherlands. Dostenlof is HCJB. Hey, Matt, Radio DXer, UK. Nice to have you on board in the early morning. First station must be BBC World Service for sure. Kevin Michael, my first shortwave was WWV on 5, 10, 15 megahertz in Fort Collins, Colorado. Scannery, KB1 PPJ, my first memory was listening to Radio Deutsche Welle, interval signal on my grandfather's Alicrafter's S38C. Uncle Justin is with Radio Moscow. Scared me. Listening to communists. Lou Braga, VOA in South America. Richard Wagner, Radio Tirana. James Bider, medium wave was WGN 720 Chicago, and shortwave could be either Voice of America or BBC. James Farley, Radio Moscow, BBC. Gabriel, WYFR, Family Radio. Yogi, ABC Radio Australia in English, 17760. It was my first big signal shortwave station. It was the year 1991. Urban Exploration Mexico, Radio La Pantera, 590 AM in 78 Mexico City. My parents were listening a lot in their car. RJDA Dakota's first QSL, Radio RSA. Jim F, WWV in Fort Collins. Solitary radio listener, probably Radio Berlin back in the early 80s. We were studying World War II in history class in high school, and I wanted to hear Radio Berlin. Garden Series 385, WWV, 31 meters on a 9th region odd chassis. Gabriel, in Uruguay, Radio Netherlands, first QSL card. So you guys have already answered question number 2 that our friend has, Bob. Question number 2 from our friend is, what is the first letter and or QSL you have received? So it doesn't have to be a QSL. He wants to know the first correspondence. So it might not be a QSL card. So first correspondence and first QSL. So if the first letter you ever received from a station was not a QSL, what station was it? And if you have a QSL, the first QSL, what's the first QSL you ever had? So in my case, first correspondence and first QSL go together. My first correspondence was to WYFR. I don't know why. I have no idea why that's the station I chose. But that's the station that I chose back then as a test, because it's so funny. For me, it was a test. Because even though I had read in the Realistic DX100 book that QSLs existed and that, you could be listening to stations and ask QSLs and so on, I had doubts that I could write a station and they write me back. So I tested with one station. and that station was WYFR. So I put a letter in the mail, asked for a QSL card as I was listening to the station. And about 3 weeks later, in the mail, nice big envelope. I remember it was a big envelope. WIFR had program schedules and all sorts of things in there, and had a QSL card. So for me, that's my first QSL and first correspondence. And I remember when I got that, I was like, this is so cool. Now I have to ride the world. And that started my writing spree of QSLs and letters around the world. It just was so amazing. It really sparked another aspect of the hobby. Not just was I listening to radio, I was corresponding. I was receiving letters from these stations. This was so cool. So, here Kevin Michael, HCJB, Keto, Ecuador, BBC London, UK, Deutsche Welle in Germany, Radio Japan, NHK. Well, Scotty, I remember listening to RTTY from some ship in the middle of the Atlantic, my uncle in the beginning, middle 80s, and I was hooked. SM6YYH in Sweden. Cool. Man Radio DX, their first correspondence was a schedule booklet from the BBC World Service. I was never into QSLs. Mark, Radio Netherlands with a QSL. S. Fred, I never did QSL cards as a teenager. When I picked up shortwave back up in 2020, I got one from Radio New Zealand Pacific. Clean Radio, early 70s, I mostly listened to offshore radio stations on medium wave and RNI Radio North Sea International. 6205 9330. Mike WX50, 1979. Radio Netherlands was my first QSL. So cool to get a colorful card from another country. Kevin Michael, first QSL HCJB, also indexed member 2 in the 70s and 80s. Robert W5 IUA, CW Novus contact on 40 meters in 1970. That's cool. That is cool. Urban Exploration Mexico. First QSL card I got comes from my friend Judela Maduro in Aruba. I talked with her on 27455 USB in 1991. James Farley, Radio France. Yogi, Radio Australia, program schedule and frequency chart. Uncle Justin, first QSL card came from that big shortwave station in Alaska. Forget the call. Is KNLS? Jim, first correspondence was WWV, the radio station document called Publication 17. First QSL HCJB. Yeah, I got that. That was a big book. Well, not a book, but a big publication with several pages talking about the. I remember that name, Publication 17. I think I got that back in the 80s. Explaining how the cycle works with the time and all the intricacies of what time signal stations can actually bring to you. Gary 24 fan, I don't know if I remember the first station I heard, but the first news broadcast from another station was about Rhodesia's independence and the change in name to Zimbabwe. This was 78, 79. Greg says cable in the U.S. is all digital. That's what I think also, but you never know. RJ Dakota, I used to receive small packages from Radio Moscow, Radio Australia. I got a big moon calendar from Radio Peking. Kevin Michael, Radio New Zealand, QSL in the 90s. Yogi, the most memorable was the handwritten letter from the Australian Forces Radio. They broadcast in high power SSB in those days. RJD Dakota, big calendar poster from Radio Australia. Wow. James Binder never got a QSL. Kevin Michael, Kane Nelson, Anchor Point, Alaska. Tosino says 6925 upper sideband just went out of the air. Zenfire was made it home to the shack, firing up the Shortwave 55 and MLA 30. First QSL was Voice of America Special English from the Philippines. Larry into ICZ, first QSL, WGY AM 810. Wow. In the days when AM stations actually did QSL or send letters. I wish I had opened up to that back in the day. I would have enjoyed having some medium wave. I got one medium wave letter maybe. I think from 1210 Philadelphia. And that's it. So cool. Now, next question is interesting. Next question is interesting. And the next question from Bob is, what is the most unusual thing you've received from a shortwave station? A pennant, a pen, whatever. What is the most unusual thing you received that you remember from a shortwave station? I'd have to say the most unusual thing from a station. So station back in the day were generous in general. There was a lot of stuff being sent out. So key rings and the Radio Beijing with all these little paper cutouts of the Chinese horoscope. There was the most unusual was from ACJB, I would say. Trying to think here because I received a lot of stuff. In my case, I remember participating in a contest that I don't remember which it was and getting a 5 sucre bill, a real currency from Quito, Ecuador from ACJB. That was unusual. That was very unusual. What can I remember? So I got key rings, stickers. I've got schedules. We could put that in the very unique shortwave reception of whatever. I received the full plans of how. So Radio Austria sent me the full plans of how the Moosbrunn transmitter site was built, their antennas, their size, and tons of technical detail on how they were constructed. And that was like a huge envelope that I got with all of that documentation. That's kind of unique. What else did I receive? I won a contest on, I think it's NHK Radio Japan, and received 6 IRCs as a gift. That was kind of weird. 6 international reply coupons that I could use for whatever I wanted. And I still remember what I used them for. There was a German publication that had schedules in English and German I wanted to have, and it cost 6 IRCs to get them. And I used those for that publication that I got a couple of weeks later. Man, I'm trying to figure out all the things. Of course, China radio, not back then, Radio Beijing. Beautiful calendars. I remember asking for that calendar every single December. I would write and ask for a calendar. They were so big and beautiful. Quite a few stations did that. What else? And there's so much. There's so much of it that I lost over time that I wish I would have today, honestly. So, you guys, let's see here with you guys. Kimberly, K6YYL, nice to have you here from California. Bobby says maybe in larger cable companies they are digital, but some of the local ones are still in analog. Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. Current's IT guy says, I remember back in the 70s, if you QSL Radio Peking, they would send you all kinds of stuff. Calendars, silk pennants, got even little red book mailed by me once. My parents freaked. And you could turn into a communist. That was dangerous. Mine WX50, I got a cookbook with old-timey Polish recipes from Radio Polonia. Oh, one that is unique. And it's not that far off, too. And early 2000s, I was living here. And I got that tape somewhere I have to find. I got a 4-track cassette of Bulgarian music from Radio Bulgaria. Obviously, a copy of a real album. It was a standard, I think it was a standard TDK cassette tape. And the album was, all the titles were handwritten on the cover, on the cover sheet that you had, where you with the little lines where you could write the songs. It was handwritten. Obviously, a bootleg of Bulgarian music sent to me from Radio Bulgaria. That's kind of unique. I have it here. I have to find it. Bobby Burgess, digital modes on traditional broadcasts. Urban exploration makes them never got mailed from a shortwave station. Well, you got to start now, man. Do something. I got the voice of Mongolia. You can do something. Write to a station. Do something. Mark, Tirana, Albania. Good luck, spring tassel. Bobby says another thing got me started in shortwave was digital modes. George Ferguson, nice to have you on board from Scotland. Current IT guy, Radio Canada International mailed me for some reason a Man Without Hats album back in the 80s. Oh, that's another one that I still have here. I don't know if it's still close to me, but I got a album, and what makes it very unique from Radio Canada is, so they had their mailbag show on, I think on Sunday, or I don't remember what day. The French language mailbag show had a question that if you answered right, they would send you a Francophone Canadian artist. And I answered, and of course, I was right for the question. You know, you're used to getting the letters by standard mail. But that day, and I still remember super well and very clearly that moment, I am sitting on the balcony outside in a summer day. It's July or August. There's a little car with the CBC Radio Canada logo on it that stops in front of my house. The guy comes out, has a vinyl record in his hand, rings the doorbell, and gives me my vinyl record hand in hand. It's like they didn't send it by mail. They sent a guy in a CBC car to hand me over the album. That's kind of unique. I don't think a lot of people have that in a correspondence. That was unique. And I do have the album here. It's a album that it's not far. I'm sure I have it like real close. I showed you guys the album a few times. Anyways, it was an album from Angèle Arsenault, which is I believe, a New Brunswick artist, Francophone artist. And so, anyways, that was kind of a cool moment when you think about it, you know. Yogi, suitcase belt from Deutsche Welle. That's interesting. Scannery, 118 people watching, only 74 likes. What the hell? Kevin Michael, favorite is a Caribbean Beacon, 1610 Anguilla from the 70s and 80s. Wow. Brad, nice to have you here. N5LUL. Kevin Michael remembers IRCs. Test and Love has 15016 USB. Gabrielle, a handwritten letter from Radio Pyongyang along with a QSL card. Man, I need to get a QSL from that station before something happens and it goes away. I really want to have a North Korea QSL. And now they are apparently in COVID alert. Zen Pharaohs, once Radio Sweden sent me a bunch of technical stuff because I asked a question about receiving their signal on an unintended frequency, which obviously turned out to be an image in my radio. Oh, interesting. Jim, a refrigerator magnet from WINB Red Lion, Pennsylvania. I have a refrigerator magnet from Radio Prague when they were transmitting from the Czech Republic. That I got here. It's on my fridge right now, and I got that somewhere in the early 2000s. That was a unusual one. Mike WX50 white papers on receivers reviews. Oh, they had a lot of stuff on Radio Netherlands. Those white papers were great. I asked so many of them. Ken Michael, KBS Seoul Korea, great QSKs and books too. Kevin Michael, NHK Radio Japan Tokyo had great stuff. Yep. WX50, Bulgarian music piracy. Glad the Bulgarian authorities didn't come after Joel. Yep, that was pretty much piracy, I can tell you that. Joseph has 17151.2 point raised radio fax coming in. So let me just see. You never know if it comes up to here. With the propagation we're having tonight, 17150. I'm hearing it. It's not strong, but look at that. I'm hearing the Point Reyes, California. 17150 upper sideband. 17150 upper sideband. It's coming in here. Let me see if I can try to. I'm going to start FLDG. I'm going to try FLDG here. See if I can get FLDG. Unfortunately, I can't really put the volume very high, so let's see if I can actually decode anything. Op mode, weather fax. There we go. So does this work? Yeah, it is. It's not very strong. We're going to see if it decodes anything as I'm talking. Greg Walker, first QSL from 27 megahertz free gander in Holland. As we have Yogi, why would a radio station send out bootleg mixtape when they could probably play the music on the air? They would. Actually, they had their Bulgarian music time on the air. But I wrote in, asked, said I was listening in and loved the station, whatever. I get this envelope, and in it, there's this bootleg tape of Bulgarian music. Figures. V3KRP VOA sent me an LP called Man on the Moon for asking a question about WWV. Oh, wow. There's IT guy. I think the rarest QSL I ever got was the Solomon Island Broadcasting Corp in the 80s. Very weak. Gabriel, I now remember winning a plastic and working cuckoo's clock from Deutsche Welle for answering a question. Wow. Ken Michael, wish I could get a Radio Denmark QSL. I got one here. I got one also from the Icelandic broadcaster, radio. What was it? Is Ricky Sudvarpid, something like that? Yeah, it's not decoding very well, but it's there's something there definitely. You could see the black separation bar on the on the SDR if I just raise this here. So you can see that there's a very noisy decode going on. This is from the point array station out in California on 17150 that I'm getting right now. It's not very strong, but it's there. Kind of interesting to check that out. What else do we have? What else do we have? Urban Mexico would love a QSL card from Babel in Montevideo. Greg, when I listened to Shortwave in 1982, I never wrote to a station to get a QSL card. Solitary radio listener has a lot of lightning static tonight from 31 meters and down. It's been the way for a week now. So, yeah, that is summer conditions. Static crashes is really, really the norm. PBRSTG looks like you got a new weather station. How is it? So what I'm going to do, we still have a lot of questions from our friend Bob, and he knows that we do it in several shows. So what I'm going to do, Bob, I know you're going to be watching. We're going to continue some of those questions on Saturday, and from time to time, every show, we're going to have 2 or 3 of them because he's got a lot of good ones. So it's going to be a lot of fun. As for the weather station, yeah. So I got the weather station, which is the Acurite weather station. Let me just, whoops. Let me just try to do something to put this here for now for a second. And let's go to look at, this is the Acurite weather station that I got. Oops. I just gonna stop pressing any buttons. So the Acurite weather station, this is it. Here we go. Very nice weather station. This is a weather station that has sensors for pressure, for atmospheric pressure, the wind speed, direction, of course, outdoor temperature, dew points, everything. Has a rain gauge, so it actually will tell you how much rain fell in one day, 1 month, and so on. It has this little teleprompter thing here on the bottom, which is kind of nice, which gives messages. So it's going to tell you, you know, what the moon is and the moon phase, the dew point, highest, lowest temperature in the day and the week, the records, all sorts of things. Of course, it has the indoor temperature also, and it has a lightning detector. So when there's a lightning strike, roughly within 25 miles, 40 kilometers, it actually will display here and say, yep, I'm actually get some lightning. And so it's very, very cool. Very, very cool. And it is, I love it. For now, it actually has an learning mode. So what happens with this station is that the next couple of weeks, it's going to have the patterns of, you know, whatever the weather is here and how it works. And what happens is that it's going to adjust itself to has the most accurate weather forecast and the most accurate information possible on it. And so it's kind of cool. I kind of love it, and I'm really happy with it. It's really really nice. It's very accurate. Also, it's more accurate than any others. It is one of those stations using 433 megahertz UHF channel for the data that it sends in to the panel here. So it's kind of cool. I'm really happy with it and having a lot of fun, honestly. So, I wanted to have something kind of cool, kind of nice. I wanted to have something I like, because there's a lot of people like, well, you can get one of those panels that plugs into the internet and gives you the weather from the local weather channel. No, I want to have the weather from what's the weather here in my balcony and the temperature from here where I live and the wind from where I live, because sometimes that could be very different from what's happening or what, it was on the at the airport, for example. So it seems to be really cool. Very happy with it. And tomorrow's, I'm excited for rain tomorrow because I want to see how much it's going to measure the rain. Of course, it has calibration for every instrument. So if you find that the instruments are not giving you the correct amounts, like in rain, for example, it tells you how to calibrate it using a cup of water and things like that. So, anyways, I'm going to have a lot of fun with that, I think. And hopefully many years of weather with the Acurite weather station here. So I think this is the latest edition. The other one I had for somebody asked me the other day how long I had the other one. The other one, I think it made at least 3 years. It made so the other one it went through. I bought it at Canadian Tire, so that's the first time. So let me think. When I went to a physical Canadian Tire myself last time, it was before the pandemic. So the other one is at least 3 to 4 years old. Now, some people are saying, well, it isn't very old for a station that, didn't work. I opened it up and I could see dripping. Like there was no water when I opened it, but I could see the trail of rusted kind of rust where water and kind of rusted water went through and slid through it, including through the battery compartment. So I think it was damaged because of that. It was still giving me, which was very interesting. And I reset it. I tried everything and didn't work. It still gave me the wind speed, which was kind of weird. I would get the wind speed all the time, but it couldn't get anything else. So at first I thought, well, I'm gonna check it out, and at some point I'm gonna buy something. And the other night I was looking at, I miss having a weather station. I like, I'm a weather buff. I think if I would have gone into college and university, probably would have been a weatherman or something, or a weather guy. It was something I always enjoyed. It was always very, very, um, very, very, um, fond of. Weather was fascinated for me. It was fascinating, and so having that is kind of cool. And so I thought, okay, I want to have something. So I think this is a nice addition, and the lightning detector is going to be fun to check out. Okay. Ken Michael getting 17150. Curtis IT guys getting NHK booming in on 6105. We have, yep, weather station is very, very cool. The lightning detector is very, very cool also. Scannery says, I monitor one of my neighbor's Acurite weather station on 433 RTL program on the RTL dongle. Do you have the, that's something I never checked. So can you tell me, Scannery, do you have a program that's going to display the information and you get it on your screen using an RTL SDR? That's kind of interesting. You know what? When somebody has something that's compatible close. Because I wanted just to see the display panel. And when I plugged it in, it was giving me outdoor temperature readings so it has 3 channels, A, B, and C. And I, out of curiosity, just choose A, B, C, and C, it was giving me weather data. It was giving me outdoor temperature, wind speed. So I thought somebody here close by must have one, but I can't see anybody. I mean, that thing you put outside is pretty big, easy to find. I can't see any neighbors with one, but I guess some neighbor must have one because on C that I was getting data, and I was like, whoa, it's getting data from something, but I don't know what. So, anyways, it's really cool. I'm very happy with it, and it's gonna be nice to see it and see the rain. I can't wait for the rain tomorrow just to see how much it's gonna measure. The only guy in Montreal is gonna be happy with rain tomorrow. um, RJDA Dakota on Sunday night, and Monday morning. I used to camp out like this and plan medium wave DX, and then when most medium wave stations used to be out of the air, there was still always something exotic. Yeah, back in the day when stations would shut down. Today are pretty much all 24 hours now. PBRSTJ says have the same unit for several years, works very well. Cool. Solitary radio listener, 1 month, 3 days away from the longest day here. Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Time is going by so fast. It's just crazy. Just crazy. Cool AM Radio, take care, Andre. Always nice to have you here. Always nice to have you here. Toast and Love, Russian WRWM 14997. Seems to have 4 modes: steady carrier, weird, choppy carrier, Morse code, and 1 second pips. Yeah, actually, what it is steady carrier. It has fast pips. It has 1 second time pips. And it has Morse code identification saying RWM. It is really a cycle that goes through. Joseph, weather and shortwave goes so naturally together. Absolutely. Jim, what's the model of the weather station? It's I got a book here. So you're going to see it here. So this is the model of the weather station. So you guys could probably read it. There we go. So this is for 3 different models. Mine is, I think, the 01022. 01022, I think, is the one that I have. So Acurite. So you see here, it has this to put outside, rain. There's a solar panel because one of the interesting aspects, when you have an outdoor weather station, what happens is that if they tell you to put it in the shade to make sure that the temperature reading is okay. This one, you don't have to, because this solar panel powers a little fan in it that actually will push air through it so that the temperature is more reflected of the reality, even if it's in full sunshine. So this is kind of an interesting, unique little thing here with that solar panel. And of course, the lightning detector is right here. That's what you see here. So I put it outside under my balcony table where I eat. And of course, you have the panel here. So really nice. Really find it really cute. Really nice little thing. And a lot of fun. I'm a sucker for these things. So I'm having a lot of fun with that for sure. So Cannery, yes, RTL 433 program for SDL dongle will display it in a command run program in Windows. Okay, I'm gonna have to check that out. Android DXtra, same program, RTL 433 can also display information from other devices like car fobs and tire monitors. Oh wow, I need to check that out. I'm not using my RTL as the RV3 enough. It's there here on the table, and I'm like, There's tons of things you could do with that. You should play around. Current IT guy, it makes you wonder how far weather station signal carries. Yeah, you know what? They're meant for 330 feet, technically, which is roughly 100 meters. But the one I don't know where the other one that I was receiving comes from. But in perfect conditions, it could carry if it's high enough and all of that, it could carry on for quite a long distance. Zenfaros, NHK in Japanese, it's 6105 coming in from the Aesodun in France transmitter. Take care, Mike. WDX50. Nice to have you here, my friend. Greg, you should play the record on Saturday Night Live chat. He's going to break the YouTube copyright. Can't. Saudi radio listener. A weather station that would display propagation conditions. If it could receive those weather ionosounds and tell me maximum usable frequency today is 28 megahertz. Oh, really? Yours is already gone? Fast load? It's a novelty, honestly, for that little fan in it. When I see the temperature is going to be, it's in the front balcony, which is full sunlight here, in between two trees. So for where it is in the front, the sun on it will be from about 10 a.m. until about 3 p.m. So that is the 5 hours when there's going to be sunshine direct on it. We're going to see. If it doesn't last long and I see that the temperatures are way too high because it stopped, what I'm going to do is I'm going to position it probably in the back where there's as much shade as possible. The biggest problem that I have here, because I can't put it like higher than the roof. And because it has wind direction, it has to be as clear of obstacles as possible. And that is the biggest problem for the wind. So I put it in front because the dominant winds here are west, northwest, southwest, south in general, except when it's bad weather, which is northeast. So it's like the dominant winds are there, but still, it'd be better off above the roof where it can really measure the correct wind speed and direction. So what else do we have here? Let me check it out here. What else do we have here? It's hot in Mexico, 31 Celsius. 95 Fahrenheit in Arkansas. That's kind of hot too. As Fred, we'll switch over to medium wave, and it looks like an excellent evening as all the New York stations coming into Toronto. No, it cannot. Snow is a different thing. I don't think there are any weather stations that can measure snow. The problem with snow is that it's because it's the rain can flow through a hole. That's what makes it easy to measure. Snow just accumulates on an object, so it will not estimate snowfall in winter because it just accumulates. It's just going to fall, and I'm going to have 4 inches of snow on it. Maybe I can actually estimate it by looking at that weather station and measuring with a measuring tape the amount of snow that's stuck on it afterwards. Maybe I can. So kind of interesting. But no, unfortunately, there's not going to be snow accumulation measure. So I don't even know how they do it in the official weather. I see a guy in the official airports. I see a guy like going out every hour and 3 inches with his measuring tape or something. But you can't have all of the stuff, and it's going to be interesting to see the lightning detection. I'm kind of curious on that. I'm kind of curious because I'll be monitoring any thunderstorms around it, around the area here, and see how. And also, one thing that I'm wondering is how does it detect the how does it detect the lightning strikes? Is it over a certain radio frequency, which means should I place it where my noise level is the lowest? That came to mind when I saw it. How does it detect if it's a radio style source? Um, and the what came to my mind is should I position it where I have the lowest noise floor, which technically should be in the backyard. So I'm really wondering how that lightning detector works. The only principle that I can think of is it's got some kind of radio receiver in it, probably in the medium wave range. And if it's very noisy, because that's the first thing I thought, if it's very noisy, it might not detect lightning strikes unless they are very close. So that's the question I have on that thing. How does it work? How does it work? Old King Cole, what's the weather model? It's the I showed you guys just a little earlier. It's the Acurite 01022 that I have. Acurite 01022. So it's going to be interesting to see. Greg, your weather station is so awesome. Thank you, Greg. James Binder, the airport has a representative surface used for snow. It's usually a black square that is leveled and clear of obstacles. Tosunlov, lightning detector, maybe 500 kilohertz. Maybe. Where does the static crashes happen the most when you have thunderstorms and lightning? It's in the medium wave, long wave region, because in that range, you're kind of seem to be pretty much in the perfect frequency range for static crashes. I mean, even far away in AM radio will get static crashes from a thunderstorm 100 kilometers away. So my thought was they put possibly a medium wave receiver in there to detect that. So, you know what? I wonder if I make a spark next to it, if it's going to detect. What about if I take a battery and a wire and just spark? If it's going to tell me, oh, there's lightning. It's an interesting experiment I need to try now. So, what happens is that detector of lightning is sensors every 24 seconds. But if lightning is detected, it then turns on into 8-second detection. And it's going to tell you how many strikes there's been for a certain amount of time. So you're going to see. Kind of interesting. Really kind of interesting. J Projects Blitz or Torn uses radio, forgettable frequency. Urban Radio Mexico, maybe using a crystal as a sensor. Jason V9JMC, so if the lightning detector is run off of medium wave, it's not going to matter about noise floor. It still detect the static crashes, just like an old AM radio when listening to a station. Yeah, but still, if your noise floor, like here, is very high, if your noise floor is very high, the weaker static crashes might not come out enough to be detected. You get what I'm saying here. Though then again, the other day that I did, it's on the front. The other day I did medium wave there, and it wasn't too bad in noise. So maybe it's okay where it is. Anyways, we're gonna see. It's kind of interesting. Pirate lightning, Joseph. Pirate lightning. Doesn't low. There's another peak around 10 kilohertz, I think. Man Max 2069, a weather station on Amazon at 119 US. Kevin Michael, lightning is long wave, medium wave bands. Make sure, Mad Max, that you have the one with lightning detector because depending on the model, some don't have the lightning detector. There's different configurations. One is the outdoor sensors for wind speed and stuff in the panel, but there's a different one with the lightning detector, which is a different price. So just make sure it has the lightning detector on it. So yes, there we go. What else do we have? Yeah, mine came up to 100 and with taxes and everything, mine came up to 175, I think. Solitary radio listener, if you could detect all the lightning crashes I've gotten in the last week, it would go to meltdown. And we do hear thousands of kilometers lightning crashes on our shortwave radios for sure. For sure. So hey guys, I've been on for 2 hours and 37. It's getting late here. It's 10:40 p.m. Um, cool, man, Max. Well, that's cool. Nice price for it. Um, we're gonna take it easy for the rest of the night. Thank you for everything. Thanks for the tips for whoever gave me a tip with the super chat functionalities. And thanks for being here, guys. It's always a lot of fun to be here. Great show. Thank you very much. Great time. We got more questions from Bob, and we'll go from them time to time. And next, Fastload is going to do a 3-hour show of talking about radio. We'll see how well it goes. So stay safe, my friends. Going to take it easy for the rest of the night. Go do a little more radio, I think. Kind of interesting tonight. Fun to have all of you here as usual. We'll be back on Saturday. And we'll be back at 20 hours UTC. We'll talk about radio once again, chase pirates, listen to signals. And we'll see if the weather isn't too bad. Maybe we could do it from outside on Saturday. Depends on the weather. It'll depend on what's happening. That could be a fun little difference. Look at all the videos. I'm actually taking boxes out with radios on them. So there's going to be more radios that I'm going to take out of the boxes that were in storage. I know a lot of you love these videos, and we're going to play with them and talk about them. So take care, everybody. Stay safe. It is an amazing to have all of you here all the time. And thanks for being great fans. See you Saturday, 20 hours, Universal Time. And radio on. Turn on that radio, guys, and listen. It's very, very important. Take care, guys. Stay safe.